Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the exploration ship Aurora, watching the massive space station grow larger on the main screen. Kepler Station looked like a giant spinning wheel made of metal and glass, floating in the darkness between the stars. Lights twinkled along its surface like tiny stars, and ships from different worlds moved around it like busy insects. "First time seeing an alien space station, Captain?" asked Dr. Lisa Kane, the ship's scientist. She was a tall woman with short brown hair and curious green eyes. Lisa had spent years studying alien life forms, but this would be her first time, meeting them face to face. Jake nodded and adjusted his dark blue uniform. "First time for all of us. Hard to believe we're really doing this." He had been chosen to lead humanity's first diplomatic mission because of his calm nature and ability to think quickly under pressure. The weight of representing all of Earth felt heavy on his shoulders. Commander Ryan Bell walked up to them, his military boots clicking on the metal floor. He was a big man with gray hair and serious eyes that never seemed to rest. "Captain, we're getting a message from the station. They want us to dock at Bay 7. "Take us in slowly," Jake ordered. "We don't want to make any mistakes on our first day." The Aurora moved carefully toward the docking bay. Through the windows they could see other alien ships. Some looked like smooth eggs, others had sharp angles like crystals, and a few seemed to be made of living tissue that pulsed with its own light. Lisa pressed her face to the window. "Look at those designs. Each one must come from a completely different world with different physics and materials. Different ways of thinking, too," Ryan added. "We need to be ready for anything." The ship shook gently as it connected to the station. A green light appeared on the control panel, showing they had a good seal. Jake took a deep breath and looked at his team. Besides Lisa and Ryan, he had brought 5 other crew members. Each person had been chosen for their skills and their ability to stay calm in strange situations. "Remember," Jake said, "we're not just representing ourselves or even our ship. We're speaking for every human being on Earth and in the colonies. Let's make a good first impression." They walked through the airlock and into the station. The gravity felt normal, which was a relief. The walls were a soft blue color, and the air smelled clean with a hint of something like flowers. Lights in the ceiling provided a warm glow that reminded Jake of sunlight. A group of aliens waited for them in the corridor. Jake tried not to stare, but it was impossible not to be amazed. The first alien looked like a large lizard walking on 2 legs. Its skin was dark green with golden spots, and it wore a flowing purple robe. Its eyes were large and yellow with vertical pupils. "Greetings, humans," the lizard alien said in perfect English, though its voice had a hissing quality. "I am Ambassador Krex of the Zephyrian people. Welcome to Kepler Station." Next to Krex stood something that looked like a walking crystal formation. It was tall and thin, with parts of its body that glowed with inner light. When it spoke, its voice sounded like music made of tiny bells. "I am Scholar Veltana of the Nexari Collective," the crystal being said. "We have studied your language transmissions with great interest." The third alien was the most unusual. It looked like a giant insect with 6 arms and compound eyes that reflected the light like tiny mirrors. Its shell was black with blue stripes, and it moved with quick, nervous motions. "General Zigthara of the Vorthak Swarm," it said in a buzzing voice. "Your species presents many questions that require answers." Jake stepped forward and gave a small bow. "I'm Captain Jake Morrison, representing Earth and her colonies. This is Dr. Lisa Kane, our chief scientist, and Commander Ryan Bell, our military advisor." The aliens led them through the station's corridors. Other creatures moved past them, some floating, some walking, some moving in ways that seemed to ignore gravity completely. Jake noticed that many of them stopped to stare at the humans, with expressions he couldn't read. They entered a large room with a long table in the center. The walls were covered with screens showing different star systems and alien worlds. The lighting was soft and comfortable, and the air circulation created a gentle breeze. "Please, sit," Ambassador Krex said, gesturing to chairs that adjusted themselves to fit human bodies. "We have prepared food for this meeting, as is traditional among our peoples. Servants brought in plates of what looked like colored gelatin, small green cubes and bowls of liquid that shifted from blue to purple. Everything looked artificial and processed, like it had been made in a laboratory rather than grown or cooked. Lisa examined the food with interest. "This is fascinating. How do you prepare these dishes?" "Prepare?" Scholar Veltana's crystal body flickered with confusion. "These are standard nutrition blocks, created by our food synthesis machines. They contain all required vitamins and minerals in perfect balance. We have not needed to hunt or gather food for thousands of years," General Zikthara added, his compound eyes focusing on Jake. "Our ancestors eliminated such primitive behaviors when they developed civilization." Ryan and Jake exchanged glances. The word primitive carried weight in the alien's tone. "What about your people?" Ambassador Krex asked, leaning forward with interest. "What foods do humans prefer?" Jake thought carefully about his answer. "We eat many different things. Fruits and vegetables from our farms, grains we grow in fields, and—" He paused, seeing no way around it. "Meat from animals." The silence that followed was uncomfortable. The three aliens looked at each other with what seemed like concern. "Animals?" Scholar Veltana's light flickered faster. "You consume other living creatures?" "Well, yes," Lisa said, trying to help. "Humans are omnivores. We eat both plants and animals. It's how we evolved on our world." General Zikthara's shell made a clicking sound. "You kill other creatures for sustenance, even now with your advanced technology?" "Many humans still prefer natural meat," Ryan said honestly. "Though we also have farms where we raise animals specifically for food. We've developed ways to do it humanely." The aliens' biomonitors, small devices attached to their bodies, began beeping softly. Jake could see lights flashing on them, probably indicating stress or alarm. "On your world," Ambassador Krex said slowly, "what kinds of animals do you consume?" Jake realized they were walking into dangerous territory, but he couldn't lie. "Cattle, pigs, chickens, fish, and sometimes wild game that we hunt. In the past, our ancestors hunted much larger animals. Mammoths, large cats, bears." "Large cats?" General Zikthara stood up quickly, his 6 arms moving in agitation. "Bears? These are apex predators on most worlds. Your ancestors hunted apex predators?" "They had to," Lisa explained. "Early humans were relatively small and weak compared to other predators. We survived by being smart, working together, and using tools. Hunting large animals was necessary for survival." The three aliens moved away from the table and began speaking to each other in their own languages. Their voices were too quiet to hear clearly, but their body language showed they were upset or frightened. When they returned to the table, their manner had changed completely. They were polite but distant, like people trying to be nice to someone they were afraid of. "This is very interesting information," Ambassador Krex said carefully. "We will need to discuss these matters with our respective governments." The rest of the meeting was brief and formal. The aliens asked basic questions about human technology and government, but Jake could tell their hearts weren't in it. They seemed eager for the humans to leave. As the Aurora pulled away from Kepler Station, Jake stood on the bridge again, watching the alien ships. He had a sinking feeling that humanity's first diplomatic contact had not gone as planned. "Captain," Lisa said quietly, "I think we may have made a serious mistake." "What do you mean?" Jake asked, though he suspected he already knew. "I don't think they see us as potential allies," she replied. "I think they see us as monsters." 3 days after the Aurora returned to Earth, Captain Jake Morrison sat in his office reading reports that made his stomach turn. The news from across the galaxy was not good. Every alien government seemed to be talking about the same thing: humans and their dangerous eating habits. His communication device buzzed with an incoming message. The screen showed Ambassador Krex, but the friendly lizard alien from their first meeting looked worried and tired. "Captain Morrison," Krex said, his yellow eyes darting around nervously, "I must inform you that the Zephyrian Council has called an emergency session. The topic is humanity's application to join the Interstellar Council." Jake leaned forward in his chair. "What kind of emergency session?" The kind where they discuss whether your species should be classified as a threat. To galactic peace, Krex replied quietly. Many council members believe that a race of apex predators cannot be trusted in civilized society. The screen went dark, leaving Jake staring at his own reflection. He picked up his phone and called Dr. Lisa Kane and Commander Ryan Bell to his office immediately. Lisa arrived first carrying a tablet full of data. Her usually neat hair was messy and she had dark circles under her eyes from lack of sleep. "Jake, you need to see this," she said, putting the tablet on his desk. "I've been monitoring alien communication networks. The story about humans eating meat has spread to over 200 worlds." Ryan walked in just as Lisa was showing Jake the alien news reports. His military uniform was perfect as always, but his face looked grim. "It gets worse," Ryan said, sitting down heavily. "Our satellites have detected at least 30 alien ships near Earth's orbit. They're not coming close, but they're watching us." "Watching us do what?" Jake asked. "Everything," Lisa answered. "I intercepted some of their transmissions. They're studying our farms, our cities, our restaurants. One report called Earth a predator breeding facility that poses a threat to peaceful species everywhere." Jake rubbed his forehead where a headache was starting. "This is insane. We're not monsters, we're just human." "That's exactly the problem," Lisa said. "Let me show you what they're saying about us." She touched the tablet screen, and alien voices filled the room, translated into English by the computer. "The humans claim to be civilized, but they maintain facilities where they breed other creatures specifically to kill and consume them," said a voice that sounded like wind chimes. "This behavior is identical to the extinct predator species that once terrorized our homeworld." Another voice, deep and rumbling, added, "Analysis of human dental structure confirms they are designed for tearing flesh. Their eyes face forward like all hunt killers. Even their social structures mirror pack-hunting behaviors." A third voice, high and musical, said, "Most disturbing is their claim that hunting is recreational. They kill for pleasure, not just survival. What civilized being kills for entertainment?" Lisa turned off the recording. "That's from 3 different news programs. The reports are getting more dramatic each day." Ryan stood up and walked to the window. "Jake, I've been getting calls from Earth Defense Command. They want to know if we should prepare for an attack." "An attack?" Jake felt the situation spinning out of control. These aliens are herbivores and scavengers. They don't even understand the concept of warfare. "Maybe not," Ryan said, "but they understand fear. And scared people do stupid things no matter what species they are." Jake's communication device buzzed again. This time it was Scholar Veltana, the crystal alien. Her body was flickering with rapid light patterns that made her look agitated. "Captain Morrison," she said, her musical voice strained. "I am contacting you privately because I believe there may be a misunderstanding. My people are philosophers and scientists. We wish to understand human nature, not condemn it." "I appreciate that," Jake said. "What can I tell you?" "Your species evolved as predators, yes? But you have also developed art, music, literature, and complex moral systems. How do you reconcile these seemingly opposite aspects of your nature?" Lisa stepped forward. "May I answer that?" Jake nodded, and Lisa faced the screen. "Scholar Veltana, humans learned to be more than just hunters. Yes, we have predatory instincts, but we also developed empathy, cooperation, and protection of the weak. Our predatory nature taught us to be strategic thinkers and problem solvers. But you still kill animals for food when you could create synthetic nutrition like civilized species do," Veltana replied. "Some humans prefer natural food," Lisa admitted. "But many of us have moved beyond that. We have vegetarians who eat no meat at all, and scientists working on artificial meat that doesn't require killing animals. Yet your species still hunts. For sport?" Ryan joined the conversation. "Hunting serves important purposes beyond just getting food. It helps control animal populations, provides funds for conservation, and connects people to nature. Modern hunters follow strict rules about what they can hunt and when." Veltana's lights flickered thoughtfully. "This is complex. You use your predatory skills to protect nature rather than destroy it?" "Exactly," Jake said. Humans have learned to channel our instincts in positive ways. We explore space, solve problems, and protect those who cannot protect themselves. I will consider this information, Veltana said. But I must warn you, Captain. General Zigthara of the Vorthak has convinced many species that humans are dangerous. He believes your predatory nature makes you inherently violent and untrustworthy. The screen went dark again. Jake looked at his two officers, seeing his own worry reflected in their faces. We need to do something, he said. This misunderstanding could destroy any chance of joining the galactic community. What if we invited some aliens to Earth, Lisa suggested. Let them see how we really live. Show them that we're not savage beasts. Ryan shook his head. That could backfire. What if they see something that makes them even more afraid? Like, what? Jake asked. A steakhouse, a fishing trip, a hunting show on television, hell, even a hamburger commercial could terrify them. Jake was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then he made a decision that would change everything. We're going to invite them anyway, he said. But we'll be smart about it. We'll show them the whole picture of humanity, not just the parts that frighten them. Jake, that's risky, Lisa warned. Everything we do now is risky, Jake replied. But hiding won't solve anything. If we want to join the galaxy, they need to understand who we really are. Over the next few days, Jake sent careful invitations to Ambassador Krex, Scholar Veltana, and even General Zigthara. He offered to bring them to Earth to see human civilization firsthand. The responses were mixed. Krex was nervous but curious. Veltana was fascinated by the opportunity to study human culture. Zigthara was suspicious but agreed to come, probably, hoping to gather evidence against humanity. Meanwhile, the news from across the galaxy continued to get worse. The Nexari had started a philosophical debate about whether predatory species could ever truly evolve beyond their basic nature. The Vorthak military was discussing the human problem in terms of containment and monitoring. Some alien species had even started changing their diets, switching from their already synthetic foods to even more processed alternatives, as if contact with carnivorous humans might somehow contaminate them. Lisa showed Jake a report from a planet called Serenity, Prime, where the local government had banned all mentions of hunting, predation, or carnivorous behavior from their educational systems. Children were being taught that such things existed only in ancient nightmares. They're treating us like we're evil, Lisa said. Like everything about predatory behavior is inherently wrong. Maybe that's because they've forgotten what it means to struggle for survival, Ryan observed. These species eliminated their predators so long ago that they can't imagine living with that kind of challenge. Jake looked out his window at the busy city below. People were going about their normal lives, unaware that their entire future in the galaxy might depend on convincing alien visitors that humans were not monsters. Well, he said, we're about to find out if 3 scared aliens can learn to see us differently. Because if this doesn't work, humanity might be alone in the universe for a very long time. The communication device buzzed one more time. It was a message from Earth Defense Command. Alien ship approaching Earth orbit. 3. Passengers aboard. Authorization code verified. They're coming, Captain Morrison. Good luck. The alien shuttle landed in a field outside Denver, Colorado on a sunny Tuesday morning. Captain Jake Morrison watched from his position near the landing site as the small craft settled onto the grass with barely a sound. The ship looked like a silver teardrop, smooth and clean without any visible weapons or rough edges. Jake wore his best dress uniform, and beside him stood Dr. Lisa Kane and Commander Ryan Bell. They had spent weeks planning this visit, choosing locations and people who would show humanity in the best possible light. The shuttle's door opened with a soft hiss, and Ambassador Krex stepped out first. The lizard alien moved carefully, his yellow eyes scanning the area with nervous energy. His purple robes fluttered in the earth breeze, and Jake could see the alien's biomonitor flashing with rapid readings. Scholar Veltana emerged next, her crystal body catching the sunlight and throwing tiny rainbows across the grass. She moved with more confidence than Krex, her inner lights pulsing with what seemed like curiosity rather than fear. General Zigthara came last, his 6 arms moving in careful patterns as he studied everything around him. the insect alien's compound. Eyes reflected the blue sky and his black shell gleamed in the morning light. Jake noticed that Zikthara kept one hand near a small device on his belt, probably some kind of emergency communicator. "Welcome to Earth," Jake said, stepping forward with a smile. "I hope your journey was comfortable." "The ship was adequate," Zikthara replied, his buzzing voice flat and cautious. "We are here to observe human civilization, not to enjoy ourselves." "Of course," Jake said, keeping his tone friendly despite the alien's coldness. "We've prepared a full program to show you how humans really live." They climbed into a large van that had been modified with special seats for the alien visitors. As they drove toward their first destination, Lisa pointed out various sights. Farms with crops growing in neat rows, small towns with children playing in parks, and people going about their daily business. "Your offspring appear to be unsupervised," Krex observed, watching kids ride bicycles along a sidewalk. "Are they not in danger from predators?" "We don't have dangerous predators in most human settlements," Ryan explained. "We've learned to live safely alongside the animals that remain." "You eliminated your predators through warfare?" Zikthara asked, leaning forward with interest. "Not warfare exactly," Lisa said. "More through changing the environment and managing populations. Most dangerous animals now live in protected areas where humans rarely go." Their first stop was a ranch owned by Pete Johnson and his wife Carol. The couple had been chosen because they represented the best of human agriculture, people who cared for their animals and treated them well. Pete was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes, wearing jeans and a flannel shirt. Carol was shorter, with brown hair tied back in a practical ponytail and dirt under her fingernails from working in her garden. "Welcome to our ranch," Pete said, shaking hands with Jake before turning to study the aliens with open curiosity. "I've never met folks from other worlds before. This is exciting." The aliens stood in a tight group looking around at the fields where cattle grazed peacefully. The cows seemed completely unaware of the strange visitors, continuing to eat grass and lie in the shade of trees. "These animals," Veltana said, her lights flickering rapidly, "they are the creatures you consume?" "Some of them, yes," Pete answered honestly, "but they live good lives here. They have plenty of food, clean water, medical care when they need it, and space to roam." "But you own them," Krex said, his voice confused. "They cannot leave if they choose to." Carol joined the conversation. "That's true, but they're safe here. In the wild, these animals would face hunger, disease, and attacks from real predators. Here, they're protected and cared for." "They're protectors and they're killers," Zikthara observed. "This seems contradictory." "It might seem that way," Pete admitted, "but we believe in giving them the best life possible while they're with us. When the time comes, we make sure it's quick and painless." The aliens exchanged glances, their biomonitors beeping softly. Jake could see they were struggling to understand the concept. Lisa tried to help by explaining the relationship between humans and domestic animals. Over thousands of years, humans and these animals developed a partnership. We provide care and protection, and they provide food and materials. Both species benefited from the arrangement. "Your species created dependent creatures that cannot survive without you," Veltana said. "Then you use that dependence to justify consuming them." "It's more complex than that," Carol said, leading them to see the horses in another field. "Look at these animals. They're not raised for food. We keep them because we enjoy their company and they help us work." The horses approached the fence, curious about the strange visitors. One large brown horse nuzzled Carol's hand, clearly comfortable with her presence. "This animal shows affection," Krex observed, sounding surprised. "It chooses to approach you." "Horses are social animals," Carol explained, patting the horse's neck. "They form bonds with humans and other horses. Many of our animals do this. Yet, you consume the social creatures as well," Zikthara said, "even those capable of emotional attachment." The conversation was interrupted by the arrival of a pickup truck. A man jumped out, wearing hunting clothes and carrying a rifle case. Jake's heart sank as he recognized Greg Walsh, a local hunter who helped manage the wildlife population. "Hey, Pete," Greg called out, not noticing the aliens at first. "I got that deer you wanted for the freezer." Big buck, clean shot. He opened the truck's tailgate to reveal a large dead deer. The aliens froze, staring at the animal. Their biomonitors began beeping rapidly, and Zigthara's shell made clicking sounds that seemed to indicate distress. "You hunt wild animals as well?" Krex asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Greg finally noticed the aliens and looked confused. Pete? Are these some kind of costumes or something?" "Greg, I'd like you to meet some visitors from other worlds," Pete said calmly. "They're learning about how humans live." Greg's eyes widened, but he handled the situation better than Jake had expected. "Well, that's something. Nice to meet you folks." He looked at the deer in his truck. "I guess this might look pretty bad to you, huh? You killed this creature." "For pleasure," Zigthara said, his compound eyes fixed on the deer. "Not for pleasure, exactly," Greg replied. "I hunt because it helps keep the deer population healthy. Too many deer and they starve in winter or get hit by cars. The meat feeds my family for months, and the license fees fund conservation programs. You kill to prevent suffering?" Veltana asked, her lights pulsing in confused patterns. "That's part of it," Greg said. "I also hunt because it connects me to nature and teaches me about the animals I share the land with. I respect every animal I take, and I use every part I can." Amy Walsh, Greg's 12-year-old daughter, climbed out of the truck wearing junior hunting clothes. She looked at the aliens with the fearless curiosity of a child. "Dad, are these real aliens?" she asked. "Yes, sweetheart. They're visiting Earth to learn about us." Amy turned to the aliens. "Did you know that hunters do more for wildlife conservation than any other group? My dad taught me that. We help protect animals by managing populations and funding habitat restoration." The aliens stared at the young human girl who spoke so casually about killing and conservation in the same breath. "Your offspring participates in the hunt killing?" Krex asked. "I'm learning," Amy said proudly. "Dad says it's important to understand where our food comes from and how to be responsible for the animals we share the world with." The rest of the day continued with more demonstrations that seemed to confuse the aliens rather than comfort them. They visited a modern slaughterhouse where the owners explained their humane practices. They toured a fish market where the catch was displayed on ice. They even stopped at a barbecue restaurant where the smell of cooking meat made the aliens retreat to their vehicle. By evening, the aliens seemed exhausted and overwhelmed. They sat in uncomfortable silence as Jake drove them back to their shuttle. "I think we've seen enough for today," Zigthara said finally. "We need time to process what we have observed." "I hope you understand us better now," Jake said. "We understand that your entire civilization is built around the systematic killing and consumption of other life forms," Zigthara replied. "What we do not understand is how you convince yourselves this is civilized behavior." As the alien shuttle lifted off into the darkening sky, Jake stood in the field with Lisa and Ryan, watching the lights disappear among the stars. "That could have gone better," Ryan said. "They're terrified of us," Lisa added. "Everything we showed them just confirmed their worst fears." Jake sighed, knowing that their carefully planned demonstration had probably made things worse instead of better. Somewhere above them, 3 aliens were flying back to their people with stories that would likely doom humanity's chances of joining the galactic community. "We tried to show them who we are," Jake said quietly. "Maybe that was the problem. Maybe who we are is exactly what they're afraid of." 2 weeks after the aliens returned to space, Captain Jake Morrison received an unexpected message. Ambassador Krex appeared on his communication screen, but this time he was not alone. Scholar Veltana and General Zigthara were with him, and all 3 looked troubled. "Captain Morrison," Krex began, his yellow eyes avoiding direct contact with the camera, "we have been discussing our visit to your world. The experience was very educational, but it has created more questions than answers." "What kind of questions?" Jake asked, though he suspected he already knew. "We need to understand something," Veltana said, her crystal body flickering with rapid light patterns. "We observed your people treating animals with care and affection, yet you also consume them. How do you reconcile these opposing behaviors?" Jake thought carefully before answering. "We don't see them as opposing. We believe you can care for something and still use it for survival. Our ancestors learned that taking care of animals was more efficient than just hunting wild ones. But you no longer need them for survival, Zikthara interrupted, his 6 arms moving in agitated patterns. Your technology can create adequate nutrition without killing, yet you continue these practices by choice. Some humans have made that choice, Jake admitted, but many others believe that natural food is better for health and taste. It's also part of our cultural traditions. Traditions based on predation, Zikthara said flatly. Before Jake could respond, Dr. Lisa Kane entered, his office carrying a tablet with urgent news. She looked at the aliens on the screen and then at Jake with worried eyes. "Captain, we have a problem," she said quietly. "The galactic news networks have been broadcasting footage from the aliens' visit to Earth." Jake felt his stomach drop. "What footage?" Lisa turned the tablet so Jake could see the screen. Alien news anchors were showing video clips from the ranch visit, the slaughterhouse tour, and Greg Walsh's hunting truck. The images had been edited to make everything look as frightening as possible. "They're calling it evidence of human barbarism," Lisa said. One report described Earth as a planet of killers who disguise cruelty as civilization. On his communication screen, Jake could see the 3 aliens watching Lisa's tablet with grim expressions. "We did not authorize the release of that footage," Kreck said apologetically. "But news organizations obtained it through sources we cannot control." "The damage is already done," Zikthara added. 17 different species have now officially protested humanity's application to join the Interstellar Council. Jake closed his eyes for a moment, trying to think of a way to fix this disaster. When he opened them, he saw Scholar Veltana leaning closer to her camera. "Captain Morrison, there is something I must tell you privately," she said. "Could we arrange a separate communication?" After the other aliens signed off, Veltana remained on the screen alone. Her crystal body was pulsing with softer, more thoughtful patterns. "Captain, I have been studying human culture beyond just your eating habits," she said. "I have read your literature, listened to your music, and examined your art. I find myself confused by what I have discovered." "Confused how?" Jake asked. "Your species has created beautiful works about compassion, love, and protecting the innocent. Yet you also celebrate stories about hunting and conquest. You write poems about the beauty of nature while simultaneously discussing the best ways to kill the animals within it." Jake nodded slowly. "Humans are complicated, Scholar Veltana. We contain what might seem like contradictions to other species. But are they truly contradictions?" she asked. "Or is there something my people are failing to understand?" Before Jake could answer, Commander Ryan Bell burst into the office with a look of panic on his face. "Jake, we have a massive problem," Ryan said, not noticing the alien on the screen at first. "Sorry, I didn't know you were in a meeting." "What's wrong?" Jake asked. "The Vorthak military has just announced they're sending a fleet to establish a monitoring station near Earth. They claim it's for galactic security, but intelligence suggests they might be planning some kind of quarantine." Scholar Veltana's lights flashed with alarm. "A quarantine?" "General Zikthara said nothing about this to me." "The general doesn't trust humans," Ryan explained to her. "He thinks you're all dangerous predators who need to be contained before you spread across the galaxy." "This is getting out of control," Jake said. "We need to do something dramatic to change their perception of us." "What do you suggest?" Veltana asked. Jake thought for a moment, then made another risky decision. "Scholar, would you be willing to come back to Earth? Not for an official visit this time, but to experience human culture as a regular person would?" "What do you mean?" "Stay with a human family for a few days. Eat meals with them, see how they really live when they're not trying to impress alien visitors. See the parts of humanity that have nothing to do with hunting or eating meat." Veltana's lights pulsed thoughtfully. "That would be highly irregular. And possibly dangerous, if your people are truly as violent as General Zikthara believes." "The choice is yours," Jake said. "But if we can't change at least one alien mind about humans, we might never get another chance." 3 days later, Scholar Veltana's small personal ship landed in the backyard of the Miller family home in suburban Chicago. Jake had chosen the Millers because they represented average American life. 2 working parents, 2 teenage children, and a lifestyle that had little to do with hunting or agriculture. Brandon Miller was a chef at a high-end restaurant, and his wife Susan worked as a teacher. Their son Kevin was 16 and loved video games, while their daughter Emma was 14 and wanted to be a veterinarian. Veltana had agreed to the visit on the condition that she could leave immediately if she felt threatened. Jake and Lisa accompanied her, staying in a nearby hotel to monitor the situation. The first challenge came at dinner time. Brandon had prepared a variety of dishes, including both meat and vegetarian options. When Veltana saw the grilled chicken and beef stew, her crystal body flickered with nervous energy. "I understand you must eat," she said carefully. "But I cannot watch the consumption of once living creatures." "That's okay," Susan said kindly. "We also made pasta with vegetables and a salad. You can focus on those while we eat." As the family sat around the dinner table, Veltana observed their behavior with scientific interest. The humans talked about their day, shared jokes, and showed concern for each other's problems. There was no discussion of hunting or violence. "Dad," Emma said, cutting her chicken into small pieces, "I need money for the animal shelter fundraiser at school." "What's the fundraiser for?" Brandon asked. "They're trying to save homeless cats and dogs. They need money for medical care and finding new families for the animals." Veltana's lights pulsed with confusion. "You consume some animals while simultaneously saving others?" "Different animals serve different purposes in human society," Susan explained. "Cats and dogs are companion animals. We keep them for friendship and emotional support. Chickens and cows are food animals, raised specifically for nutrition. But how do you decide which animals deserve protection and which deserve to be consumed?" Veltana asked. Kevin looked up from his video game. "It's about the relationship we have with them. Dogs and cats chose to live with humans thousands of years ago. They're our partners. Food animals are different because we bred them specifically to be food." "Your offspring understands these distinctions instinctively," Veltana observed. "It's part of how we grow up," Emma said. "We learn that all life has value, but different types of life have different roles in our world." Over the next 2 days, Veltana experienced aspects of human life that had nothing to do with predation. She watched Brandon create elaborate dishes that were works of art. She saw Susan teaching children to read. She observed Kevin helping elderly neighbors with their yard work and Emma volunteering at an animal rescue center. The most surprising moment came when the family's cat, a gray tabby named Whiskers, approached Veltana without fear. The cat seemed fascinated by her crystal structure and began purring while rubbing against her legs. "Your companion animal shows no fear of me," Veltana said, amazed. "Animals are good judges of character," Brandon replied. "Whiskers likes you, which means you're probably a good person, even if you are made of crystal." On her final evening, Veltana sat in the Miller family's living room, watching them interact. Brandon was helping Kevin with homework while Susan and Emma planned the animal shelter fundraiser. Whiskers slept peacefully on Veltana's lap, apparently unconcerned about her alien nature. "I think I am beginning to understand something," Veltana said suddenly. "Your predatory nature is not separate from your civilization. It is part of what created your civilization." "What do you mean?" Susan asked. "You learned to hunt in groups, which taught you cooperation. You learned to plan for hunting, which developed your intelligence. You learned to share food after successful hunts, which created your social bonds. Your predatory instincts became the foundation for everything good about your species." "That's exactly right," Brandon said. "We didn't abandon our hunting nature when we became civilized. We transformed it into something better." Captain Jake Morrison stood before the largest gathering of alien representatives in galactic history. The great council chamber on Kepler Station buzzed with hundreds of different voices speaking in dozens of languages. Creatures of every shape and size filled the seats, from tiny floating jellyfish-like beings to massive rock formations that communicated through vibrations. At the center of it all sat the High Council, 12 of the most powerful species in the galaxy. Their decision today would determine whether humanity would be accepted into galactic society or banned forever as a dangerous threat. Jake wore his best dress uniform, but he felt small and alone facing so many alien eyes. Behind him sat Dr. Lisa Kane and Commander Ryan Bell, along with Scholar Veltana, who had agreed to speak on humanity's behalf despite the risk to her own reputation. The Interstellar Council will now hear arguments regarding the human application for membership, announced the council speaker, a tall purple creature with 6 legs and a voice like flowing water. General Zigthara of the Vorthak will present the case against human admission. Zigthara rose from his seat, his black shell gleaming under the chamber lights. His compound eyes swept across the crowd before focusing on Jake with unmistakable hostility. Honored Council, Zigthara began, his buzzing voice amplified throughout the chamber. We face a decision that will determine the safety of every peaceful species in this galaxy. The creatures called humans present themselves as civilized beings, but evidence proves they are apex predators barely contained by their own technology. The general activated a holographic display showing footage from Earth. Images of cattle ranches, slaughterhouses, and hunting expeditions filled the air above the council floor. Observe their food production facilities, Zigthara continued. They breed sentient creatures in captivity for the sole purpose of killing and consuming them. They call this agriculture, but it is systematic murder on an industrial scale. Murmurs of fear and disgust rippled through the crowd. Many aliens covered their eyes or made sounds of distress. Furthermore, the general said, they engage in recreational killing, pursuing wild animals not for survival but for entertainment. They teach their offspring to participate in these activities, ensuring that each new generation inherits their violent tendencies. The hologram showed Greg Walsh and his daughter Amy at their hunting trip, the images edited to emphasize the weapons and the dead deer. Most disturbing of all, Zigthara's voice rose to a crescendo. They consume apex predators. Their ancestors hunted the greatest killers on their world and turned predation into an art form. What species that has evolved beyond such savagery could ever trust beings whose very DNA is programmed for violence? The general sat down to thunderous applause from many species. Jake felt his heart sinking as he saw the fear and anger in hundreds of alien faces. Captain Morrison will now present humanity's defense, the council speaker announced. Jake stood slowly, his legs feeling weak. He had prepared a speech about human achievements, about art and science and philosophy. But looking at the terrified faces around him, he realized that logic and explanation would not be enough. Honored Council, Jake began, his voice steady despite his nervousness. General Zigthara is correct about one thing. Humans are predators. We evolved to hunt, to kill, and to survive in a world filled with creatures that wanted to eat us. The chamber fell silent. This was not the denial they had expected. But what the general fails to understand, Jake continued, is that our predatory nature is not separate from our civilization. It is the foundation of everything good about humanity. How can violence be the foundation of goodness? Called out Ambassador Krex from the audience. Because predators must be intelligent to survive, Jake replied. We had to learn to work together, to plan ahead, to understand the behavior of other creatures. These skills made us explorers, scientists, and protectors. Pretty words, Zigthara interrupted, but actions speak louder. Your species still kills for pleasure. We hunt to maintain balance, Jake shot back. We learned that apex predators have responsibilities to the ecosystem. When we eliminated our natural predators, we had to take their place to prevent overpopulation and starvation. Before the argument could continue, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed red, and the chamber's main screen activated to show a terrifying sight. Space around Kepler Station was filled with massive black shapes moving like living shadows. The creatures were enormous, each one the size of a city, with writhing tentacles and mouths full of teeth that glowed with their own light. Void Reapers, whispered the council speaker, all 6 of his legs trembling with fear. How did they find us? Panic erupted in the chamber as aliens rushed toward the exits. The Void Reapers were legendary monsters that appeared without warning to consume entire planets. Every encounter in recorded history had ended in retreat and the loss of whole star systems. All ships are ordered to evacuate immediately, came A voice over the communication system. This is not a drill. Repeat, all ships evacuate immediately. Through the chaos, Jake saw General Zikthara arguing frantically with other Vorthak officers. Their military ships were among the most powerful in the galaxy, but even they were preparing to run. Wait, Jake called out, his voice somehow carrying over the noise. We don't have to run. The chamber fell quiet again, but this time with desperate hope rather than fear. Captain Morrison, the council speaker said, these are Void Reapers. No force in the galaxy has ever successfully fought them. No force in the galaxy has ever included humans, Jake replied. He activated his communicator and called the Aurora. Ryan, Casey, Alex, Maya, are you there? Commander Ryan Bell's voice came through clearly. We're here, Captain. Ship is ready for launch. Casey, Jake continued, speaking to pilot Casey Brooks. Can you get us close to those things? I can get you close to anything, sir, Casey replied with characteristic confidence. Whether you'll survive is another question. Alex, Jake addressed Marine Sergeant Alex Turner. You studied these creatures. What's your assessment? They're pack hunters, sir, Alex replied. Just like wolves or lions back on Earth. They coordinate their attacks and focus on weak or isolated targets. Maya, Jake called to Engineer Maya Patel. Can our weapons hurt them? Unknown, sir, but I've got some ideas about their weak points based on their movement patterns. Jake turned back to the terrified aliens filling the chamber. We're going to fight them. That's suicide, Zikthara protested. These creatures have destroyed entire civilizations. Maybe, Jake admitted. But humans have been fighting apex predators for millions of years. It's what we do. Scholar Veltana suddenly stood up, her crystal body blazing with bright light. I request permission to join the human vessel as an observer. Veltana, that's madness, Krex called out. No, she replied firmly. It's science. If humans truly are what they claim to be, this will prove it. If they are merely violent primitives, they will die and the galaxy will be rid of them. Within minutes, Jake found himself back on the Aurora's bridge with Veltana watching from a specially prepared observation area. Through the main screen, they could see the Void Reapers spreading out to surround the fleeing alien ships. They're herding the other ships, Casey observed, driving them toward the main group. Classic predator behavior, Alex added. They're treating the alien fleet like a herd of prey animals. Then we're going to act like predators too, Jake decided. Casey, take us around behind them. We're going to attack the pack leaders. Sir, that goes against all military doctrine, Ryan warned. You never attack superior forces head-on. Human military doctrine, yes, Jake agreed. But we're not fighting a human military. We're hunting. The Aurora moved like a hunting wolf, using the station's bulk to hide its approach. Maya had rigged the ship's weapons with modifications based on her analysis of Void Reaper anatomy, targeting what appeared to be sensory organs and coordination centers. Range in 30 seconds, Casey reported. Alex, you're our predator expert, Jake said. When do we strike? Alex studied the creature's movements with the eye of a hunter who had tracked dangerous game across Earth's wilderness. Wait for it. Wait for it. Now. The big one just turned to coordinate with the others. His attention is divided. Fire everything, Jake ordered. The Aurora's weapons tore into the largest Void Reaper, targeting the nerve clusters Maya had identified. The creature let out a sound like a dying star and turned to face its attacker. It's working, Maya called out. The others are confused. They don't know how to react when something attacks them instead of running. What followed was a battle, unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Aurora used hit-and-run tactics, striking from unexpected angles and withdrawing before the massive creatures could respond effectively. They targeted the pack leaders, disrupting the coordination that made the Void Reaper so dangerous. They're starting to panic, Alex observed as the creatures began attacking each other in their confusion. Just like any pack when the Alpha is threatened. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it was over, the Void Reapers were dead or fleeing, and the Aurora hung damaged but victorious in space near Kepler Station. The council chamber was silent when Jake returned. Every alien eye was fixed on him with a mixture of awe and fear.